Hello, I'm Ron Richards, Senior Research Curator of Paleobiology, Indiana State Museum, and we're in a cave deep in southern Indiana, and we've been digging this for 30 years. This is year number 30. And in this cave, through the years, we found extinct animals like the flat-headed peccary, dire wolf. We found armadillo, giant land tortoise, tapir, a number of animals that are no longer here, and some that live far to the north, like the small little yellow-cheeked vole. This is probably the biggest bone cave in Indiana. It's got a very rich chronicle of life in the Ice Age for the last 100,000 years. And we've gradually dug our way up towards the front of the cave, and we've got a digging crew working there right now.
My name is Liz Scott. I'm the Natural History and Archaeology Preparator. Here in the cave, the dirt is excavated and put into buckets. One of my functions is to record the context where that material comes from, so that when we analyze it, we know where it comes from. We have a grid system in the cave so that we know which particular units they're from and the level. That's also important. And there's documentation on the inside of the bucket, the outside of the bucket, and in a log journal. And again, it's re-recorded down at the wash station, so we know exactly where everything comes from for the best analysis possible.
My name is Michelle Greenan. I'm the Director of Archaeology at the Indiana State Museum and Historic Sites. So I am charged with protecting the archaeological resources owned and maintained by the State Museum and Historic Sites. But here I am at Megenity Cave. Sometimes I lend a hand with paleontological digs, which is what this is. This is actually not an archaeological excavation, but I'm lending a hand. Digging is always fun, so I lend a hand when I can. So right now you're looking at some unit dirt. All of that has come from a very specific area of excavation we've been working on. So we try to keep control over where we're digging. We have to control as tightly as we can where our dirt is coming from, so that we can kind of reconstruct things back in the lab. So unfortunately, once you take something out of the ground, you kind of destroy the site. So you have to be able to reconstruct it back in the lab. So we keep as much control as we can. So we go in very specific areas and we try to stay in those areas, and we go down very specific levels so that back in the lab we can put it all together and see what's going on, see what kind of animals and things were living in here many, many, many thousands of years ago.
Got to get the bucket back to the screens, and this is the best way I think we've done it in 30 years.
I'm Peggy Fisher-Keller. I'm the Curator of Geology at the Indiana State Museum. So I am working at the screening station here at the digs. Once the buckets come out of the cave, we sort them and put them in these screens, and we break down all of the sediment that we don't need to bring home. So I'm just working the sediment through the screen, and hopefully what we have when we're done are just small bones, small things that we can look at through the microscope, and it just makes it a lot lighter to carry back to the museum. And then once we get back to the museum, we screen it again, we double clean it, and at that point it's ready to go under the microscope, at which point we have volunteers who painstakingly go through all of this sediment to look for small bones and small artifacts.